So when I was growing up, we had a lot of people that came in and speak to us about, the odds of making it to the NFL. And it was always like the top 1% of players are going to get there. And, eventually I started blocking it out because that was a goal of mine. It was like, whatever. So I get drafted, and the first call I get from my DB coach is like, your goal has to change. Like, everybody's goal is to get to the NFL, but you have to have staying power. And the goal should be to make it 10 years here. So I started, I was like, oh, wow, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But I remember my focus shifting and thinking about like that staying power in the NFL. So the NFLPA released a stat last month saying 26% of all the players that ever made it to the NFL made it 5 accredited seasons. Let that sink in. That means out of all the players that made it to the NFL, that out of that 1%, 26% made it. So that means 74%, whether it was a day, a week, a month, a year, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or whatever the case may be, they didn't make it that 5 years. So like the whole point of that is, like, what is a pro football career, right? Like when you think of a pro football career growing up, I know for me, it's the riches, the driving fast cars, playing at the top level in football, playing in nice stadiums, all the things that come, competing at the highest level, all the things that come with professional sports. And a lot of those things come along with it. But the staying power in the NFL is something that I don't think is always mentioned, or understanding that it's an experience, right? Like when you think about going there, it's not a career. It's not a career that you can bank on. It's a catalyst that gives you specific critical views on different careers that you can take an offensive approach on. I'm not saying this whole 26% to scare people or to like, hey, make sure you have your plan to fall back on. Because I believe that you should have a plan to accelerate on, right? Like you got to use the football ecosystem as, as like cars are going like those turbochargers, like each transition point, like turbocharged to the next one, whether it's the recruiting process into college into the pre-draft process into your team into your second contract, transitioning out to your next job, moving up, starting a company, whatever those things are. Hopefully we will get to those in the Blue Chip Academy, because the recruiting process is the first aspect of becoming a blue chip prospect. Being a desirable asset is what a blue chip is, right? When you think about starting at the stock market term of it, it's a desirable, safe asset that continues to raise in value. And that's what we want to be, starting from the recruiting process all the way up to professional sports, to transitioning out into the workforce or entrepreneurial field, whatever that case is for you. So that percentage should be a mentality check, that you could play this game of football as an experience. Take some of the weight off of it's either NFL or bust, or this or bust. If I don't do X, Y, and Z, like you got an opportunity to build up specific knowledge, critical knowledge, and a brand while you're going through. I think that's the best thing about the NIL in the college realm of sports. When you think about the ability for guys to build their own personal brands, and not their personal brands where it's like a t-shirt or selling things, even though that's an aspect for it, but like a brand that you can build to set yourself up for what you want to do after football, right? Like I got to give big props to a group called AthEco. They work in the branding, merchandising, and business consulting for college athletes. And they've been doing some great things with, working with Notre Dame and getting their athletes into the bookstores, understanding like the internship opportunities with Goldman Sachs and things of that nature, and having the player that they're working with, looking at this whole thing and being able to use all the tools and things that Notre Dame provides to his benefit, for his business benefit, not just on the field, but off the field when it happens. And that's what I want everyone to take away from, like, just the stat of 26% of the 1% make it 5 accredited seasons. And, you'll see the numbers of what contract earnings come in that, whether you're 10 years, 12 years, 1 year, 2, 3 years. I mean, you'll get beat in your head with the stats all the way through about finding that next thing. And that's completely true. I'll be honest. I was the kid when they came and said, hey, only one of you guys are going to make it. I was like, yep, that's going to be me. You know what I mean? And like kind of blocked off any doubt of that happening. But I did understand, and I grew up understanding it was like less than 1%. I always knew what that percent was to enter the door. But like the percentages change, whether it's like that staying power and what your life is set up to be. You know, I got out of NFL, I was 26 years old. You know what I mean? I still had, you know, a full life to live, another whole career. And that transition, we'll talk about in the next episode, the transition out and the different aspects and tactical approach that you should make going to it. So it's, you know, so you're again on the offensive, but there's challenges in every aspect in transitioning out of the game, right? So whether your football career ends in college, it ends your first year in the NFL, you're at a week tryout, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be, it's a different level, different struggle, different type of indoctrination into like the pro football style of life. Whether it's, you know, coming out of college or never making it, you know what I mean? So like there's a lot of different things that people transition from, but understanding that stat from the beginning and understand that you can get a blue chip blueprint and have it in place and working back. And it's not all about just getting to the NFL. Like that is a piece of it, and that can be a big turbo boost to do whatever you want for the rest of your life. But using this thing to catapult into that next phase and all transition points throughout the football ecosystem. And that's the